trying to play Division I after that.
Okay.
Played out a little bit different. So that was part of the reason we ended up redshirting, or I ended up redshirting, was my coach. I told him kind of my plans with that. And he was like, well, if you're going to go on a mission, why don't we redshirt your first year? Then when you come back, you have 2 consecutive years.
Yeah.
So you don't lose eligibility. You're not going to lose one of your years first. Yeah. That makes sense.
And I won't break up my years, right?
Yeah.
So it's easier to get noticed. It's easier to get better. There's a lot of reasons why you'd want to play consecutively versus taking a 2-year gap in between.
Yeah.
That
it's a long
makes
time.
more sense.
Yeah, long time. So that was one of the reasons I redshirted, and we had a really good team that year too. And it was I got a lot better that year playing with them and practicing with them every day because I was on the practice squad.
Yeah.
And so I got to play against the starters, and we were, it was a lot of fun because you kind of just get you're on scout team, right? So you just play, just try and kick their asses and get competitive. And
that's right.
It's fun. So after my redshirt year, found out wasn't going to be able to go on a mission for another year. So I had to change of plans. That summer is when John and I worked out for the second time pretty consistently.
Right.
And then played my freshman year down at Snow. Had a good year, what I felt like. I mean, it wasn't kind of what I was hoping, but I did have a good year, I felt.
And you're a basketball guy too, right?
So, yeah, I didn't really play. Man, my story in high school was the sucky one, but
you're a lot better now, probably, too, aren't you?
I chose drugs over sports. But when I wanted to play, the coach actually told me the wrong dates of tryouts because of the way I looked.
On purpose?
On purpose.
Oh, my gosh.
I talked to some of the other teammates and everything. They were like, dude, I can't believe you missed, tryouts. And I'm like, they're not for like another couple weeks. Like, dude, no, he told you the wrong dates. And he's like, he already made cuts.
Such a dick move,
dude. I considered myself a really tough kid, but dude, I went home and cried, and I was like, school sucks. I hate it. F this. I literally thought like, I don't want to be here anymore.
And then that probably made you go harder into drugs.
I was not a happy person after that, and I ended up getting kicked out of school and la. But I did graduate 4-year college. I did all that stuff afterwards, but so I redeemed it. Somehow I made it through there, but basketball was always my thing of choice. And increasing somebody's vertical, their speed, their all that kind of stuff was my game. Like that's what I did.
Well, and you were good at it too.
And I was good at that. And then I was the Salem Hills. I was the strength coach for the volleyball. For a little while during 2011-12.
Yep.
And some of the girls that I worked with ended up going to the Junior Olympics.
Yeah.
Including Mackie, who is the wife of
Josh, my partner.
Josh, who we're going to talk to. So she was one of the ones that I trained.
That's awesome.
And we even got a lot of personal training with her. And dude, she could skyrocket. Dude, she could like hang time, like Jordan hang time. It was amazing.
She was an athlete.
They're about to have a baby.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Monday.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay. There you go. Yeah. So that's kind of how this intertwines. Like we've known each other for a long time, and So training vertical was like one of my specialties. I mean, I'll be 40 this year, and I still have a 37-inch vertical.
Yeah.
And that was, since I was 17, I can still throw down. And I'm not planning on ever going down. Dude, I'll dunk until I'm at least 50 or 60. I'm just going to still keep going at it. But
until the legs stop working.
Yeah. Until my legs stop working. If you cut off my leg, I'm just going to put another one on, and I'm still going to jump.
Those spring ones like that.
Then I'll just jump higher.
You would jump higher with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, basketball was just... it's such a fun sport, right?
Yeah.
And it's competitive, it's high-paced, it's physical.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to get good requires a lot of discipline and a lot of practice. And
it really does.
So I was really happy that I went with basketball.
So what position did you play?
So in high school, I played point guard.
Okay. So you were a shorter guy in high school, or
no? I was actually So I haven't grown since I was probably a sophomore. So I grew to
London's
be 6'4".
pretty tall.
So I grew to be 6'4" when I was a sophomore.
Oh man!
And
they still put him at point because he wasn't big enough to play.
It's true.
Forward.
I wasn't very strong. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually was a really good dribbler and passer because I grew up playing point guard ever since I was a kid.
You're more of
I wasn't
the
big
Magic
kid.
Johnson style point guard.
Well, on the size level, I mean, yeah. I mean, definitely never would I compare myself to Magic Johnson, but as far as being a taller point guard, yeah, I was.
Well, there's a lot of taller points nowadays.
absolutely.
It seems like a lot of people are. They're not such.
And 6'4" is probably not.
Oh yeah,
tall
that's
point guard.
That's pretty standard point guard.
Yeah.
In the NBA.
It totally is. Yeah.
And so, in high school, played point guard, which gave me a lot of advantages, right? Being 6'4", and a lot of the kids that were guarding me were in between 5'7" to at the tallest, 6 foot, 6'1", unless they were playing, unless I had a different position guarding me, which I had an advantage against as well because I was faster. And so my size gave me a big advantage, but it was kind of perfect because a lot of kids, when they grow really fast, when they're young, and they're the tallest kids, just get put as a big guy because they're just the tallest kids, right? So it honestly begins from when you're a little kid.
Yep.
And it matters kind of what position and your size from when you're a kid because it determines the teams you're on, it determines what coaches are coaching you, it determines so many different things.
Sure, yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, and it kind of played out well for me that I was an average sized kid all growing up until I hit my sophomore year and then grew like 4 inches in that year. And then just became a really tall point guard for the rest of high school. And then college, we actually had they were shorter, but they were really good point guards, really fast, great passers, dribblers. And I was a lot better shooter. So I just became a shooting guard instead of a point guard.
Yeah.
Which I was fine with, right? Shooting's a lot funner than passing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it is. You want to be the one that makes the points.
Yeah.
Well, and I was better at making the points than passing.
Yeah.
So, and it played out well, right? My style was a bit different than my coaches in college, so we didn't 100% mesh super well that way. But I felt like I played well, worked really hard, and you can always kind of look back and wonder if you ever reach your potential on anything.
Oh, for sure.
With anything. And
I agree, yeah.
I would say most people being as critical as, most people are the most critical with themselves.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And I think most people would probably look back at things that they've done and think that they haven't reached their full potential. At least maybe that's naive to say, but that's how I think about myself on a lot of different things, right? And you kind of have to, that's one of the trials of life, is looking back at what's been and try not to dwell on the past and continue to be your best self, what you're doing, right? And so that's just how it goes.
So did you ever serve a LDS mission?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
So after I played my freshman year, so I redshirted a year, right? Played a year, and then went on a mission to Japan.
Okay.
So I spent 2 years in Japan.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. Japan's a special place.
Yeah,
honestly.
it's a
Totally
culture
different.
shock, I'm sure.
Totally different than here.
It's a different world.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah, and people are absolutely amazing. I'd learned so much from the people in Japan, and I mean, every culture has its, its flaws. But yeah, Japan was a special place, and
I hear they're workaholics.
Very much so. They're perfectionists. Yeah.
Yeah.
The workaholics, perfectionists, and it pays off for them, honestly. In most cases, right? As far as things with engineering and design and different things that require.
And what is Japan like compared to China? Like, I'm talking like the amount of people.
Gotcha. Amount of people is completely different.
Okay.
Right. I'm actually not sure how many people are in Japan now. I was there last time I was there was about 6 years ago. But I think China has 1.7 billion.
They have a shitload, yeah.
China has a lot.
I mean, a lot larger landmass as well,
yeah.
right?
For sure.
Japan's like the size of California plus a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know
it's more densely populated in the cities.
Absolutely.
Go up. Everything goes up instead of out wide.
Yeah, so there's probably I'll bet 85% of the population in Japan lives within a very small percentage of the actual size of the country.
Okay.
So I was in the countryside in the northern part of Japan.
Oh, that's nice.
It was nice, actually.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
I don't know if you've seen like The Last Samurai or a few different Japanese movies,
Yeah.
Japanese inspired movies where it's really country and
That is the
mountains are
third
beautiful
time
and-
that that show has been referenced in the last couple days.
Really?
I think I need to go watch
You have
it
to
again.
watch it.
Yeah,
It's
no,
one of my
I haven't
favorites.
seen
It's
it for
so
like
good.
20 years, but
Yeah. Tom Cruise is awesome
Yeah.
in that movie, actually.
Yeah.
So I was really lucky because the country. So I actually haven't even been to Tokyo or some of the other bigger cities in Japan that most people go to.
That's
So I was the biggest city in the area that I lived and served in was called Sendai, and it was about the size of Salt Lake. So it was about 1 million
okay.
people.
So
there.
that not too big.
No, not too big, but it was kind of still a city.
And
Sure.
were the places that you were serving in like comparable to like Salem or
Smaller. Most of them
Okay.
were way smaller.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, the first place I was in was probably comparable to like Spanish Forks, probably South Utah County.
Yeah.
I'd say because I think there's like 100,000 people there, and that's probably the size of South Utah County, like south of Provo. But then after that, I was in a town probably just smaller than Salem. It was probably like 10,000 people, and then it gradually got smaller and smaller for
Wow.
me. Yeah, so then after that, it was like really small area. I served on an Air Force base. So
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, it was really cool. So I had a mix of Japanese and American
Yeah.
culture while I was living there. And then,
that's awesome.
yeah, it just kind of got smaller and smaller based off of where I was living and really countryside, which,
Yeah.
you ride your bike for 10, 20 miles just to go
Yeah,
see one person.
just to
Hey, at least you're getting your workout in.
Yeah.
Oh, I
it's-
did, man. If I didn't ride my bike every day in Japan, I would have been a big boy.
And I'm
Yeah, so what's the food like? Do they feed you like just, I mean, I assume rice, but
Yeah, a lot of rice, lots of
seafood?
Yeah, lots of fish. I mean, not like the seafood that kind of we think about. Their seafood. I mean, most of their dishes have some form of fish. I guess I wouldn't say most, but a lot of them do, and they cook it in so many different ways. Way different here.
Yeah.
I wasn't eating, like Bubba Gump's
Yeah.
shrimp buckets or something like that. It was way different, right? It was really fresh sushi, or it was. They have a lot of
So a
tempura
lot of
fried
sushi?
fish, a lot of sushi,
Yeah.
a lot of, and that's not everybody. And not everybody. I mean,
Kind of depends on where you live
Yeah.
in Japan, too. 'cause
Well,
yeah.
kind of depends on where you live, but also what's in the area.
Okay.
I mean, everybody says that sushi's expensive in Japan, but compared to here, it's actually way cheap.
Yeah.
Um,
And what's the exchange rate?
so 100 yen is about $10.
Okay.
At least it was when I was there.
Okay.
I would say now it's probably somewhat similar. I
Yeah.
don't think it's changed too much in the last 10 years or 5 years. Yeah, it was about 100 yen, which is it was almost similar. Like the food
Yeah.
prices were pretty similar. Rent was a bit higher, actually, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, Japan is just a special place. Countryside was beautiful. Fields everywhere. I had the opportunity one time to actually plant a rice field with some
That's
people.
cool.
Yeah, as a service project.
Right on.
And that was one of the cooler things that I did out there. It's just a lot of
Yeah.
fun to kind of experience that
just
in a
to
traditional way.
Be helping people like with your hands, like
Right.
that's not something. Well, I've never been on a mission or anything like that, but
Yeah.
I would assume that that's not the typical thing that a missionary does.
No, it's not. Well,
Yeah.
kind of missionaries in Japan, as I'm sure missionaries in other places of the world, it honestly depends on a lot on where you're at, right? I mean,
Sure.
missionaries in South America have a very different experience. Missionaries in Europe or missionaries in Japan or
Yeah.
missionary stateside. And in Japan, a lot of the missionary work that we did was service-based. I mean, not all the time was it planting rice,
Yeah.
but it was service-based. It was teaching English. It
Okay.
was, helping the members with current life situations, work projects, different things like that, cleaning
that's cool.
houses. Like, it was just a lot of service-based, primarily because there's not a big history of Christ, right? And that's what that's what we were teaching about. Very different teaching, somebody that has grown up learning about Christ and wants Christ in their life versus somebody that really has no idea who Christ
Sure.
is.
Yeah.
So teaching experiences are very different based off of the
What
culture.
what's the most common religion there?
It's Buddhism
Okay.
and Shinto.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Well, so Buddhism, right? You've got Buddha and kind of the ancestors type thing, and then Shintoism was kind of like spirits. there was like 2 great spirits that created the earth, kind of thing.
Okay.
And, yeah, 2 spirit dragons.
It's
Okay. All right.
interesting.
At least that's what one guy told me once.
It's interesting to me how like different religions